Have you ever wondered how you can unlock new opportunities and knowledge that can truly change your journey as an African immigrant? Then, you're in the right place. Welcome to the AIM Expert series, where we bring you insightful sessions, packed with practical strategies from top experts on topics that matter most to you. So, if you're looking to grow your career or understand the US system, then grab a chair and don't go anywhere. Now, let's get started on today's session.
And just like we always do every week, the session is everything we share, everything our experts share is from their experience and their knowledge. Do with the information you receive as you may, but your decision and the outcomes are totally yours. We don't bear any responsibility for that. And we know Mr. Tosin, he's a regular, he's our in-house cybersecurity guru. We thank him for his generosity with information and willingness to always come on and share. And so without further ado, I will invite him on one last housekeeping thing before Mr. Tosin comes up. Please, if you have any questions, you can use the chat. And at the end of his presentation, we'll take questions and dive deeper into whatever specific questions you have that he's able to answer. And we also always have our Circle as our platform, so you can always come on, ask questions on Circle and also get answers if you're not able to get all the in-depth. If you have more questions after our time it's exhausted, Circle will be a good place to get answers to those. So without further ado, I'll invite Mr. Tosin to take it on from here.
Thank you, sir. I would like to share my screen. Sorry, I couldn't make it the last time. How do I share my screen right now? Okay, you can see. Okay. Let me know if you can see my screen.
Not yet.
Okay, I think you should be able to see it now.
Yes, now we can see.
Okay. So last time, when I did an intro to cybersecurity and information, depends. Some company call it cybersecurity, some company call it information security. So, but altogether is cybersecurity and information assurance. So, I mentioned that there are some frameworks that when it comes to GRC, that is governance and risk assessment, there are different frameworks. Let me refresh your brain by sharing the screen so you can know what I'm actually talking about. 1 minute, let me share my screen so you can see what I'm talking about in case you're not in the, I want to go back to that slide so you can understand what I'm talking about. So, I was talking about, governance risks and compliance. There are different frameworks. One of them is PCI DSS, which is what I do presently. And over time, I've done NIST. NIST has to do with National Institute of Standard and Information Technology, which is mostly based in US government. US institutions actually adopt this framework. And, in Europe, they have their own, which is DDPR. That is the framework they use in Europe. Even most companies in Europe, they actually adopt NIST framework sometimes because it's kind of a robust framework. And I mentioned about ISO 27001, which is for, also for international companies, not majorly just Europe, but, if you are working in a company that have branches in different parts of the world, they adopted this particular framework. SOX is about the Sarbanes-Oxley framework, which is also about US institutions, not just the government institution, but any company that has to do with finances. They have to, conduct what we call SOX. That is a framework that has to do with finances when there's a breaches or there's a hacking situation in your environment, you need to establish a communication to your stakeholders, which has to do with the customer. So what they do is they conduct assessment, which means they have to make sure availability in terms of information is always available when the stakeholders need information, and they have to also make sure that the information is secure. When you say secure, that means you have to have authentic. Nobody should be able to access your information in a nutshell. So the last two ones are SOC 1, that is SOC 1 and SOC 2. This is also based on, on finance institution. I've not done this before, but, the good thing about this framework is majority of this framework has same workflows. And that's what I'm about to share with you guys today. I will stop sharing there and go back to the document I presented before. So I will go back to that. I hope you understand where I'm coming from now. So those are the framework. This particular workflow, if you know this workflow, you'll be able to do any frameworks. This workflow is applicable to all frameworks. So when a project is about to kick off, has been assigned to you, the first thing you want to do is to set up a kickoff meeting. In the subsequent classes meeting we'll be having, I'll be going into each of the frameworks, the one I know, which has to do with NIST. In NIST, there are a lot of publications. We have 853, 830, 860, which is used to determine system type. 830 is mainly about the risk assessment, how you conduct risk assessment. And we have 837 is a guideline about how to monitor, how to assess. Let me start from how to assess, how to monitor, and how to communicate if there's any risks in your environment. So, and I'll be also PCI, like I said, I will be going into each of this framework. I think I'm going to start with PCI because that is my main core right now. So I will start with PCI, then we'll go to NIST. I bet you if you can, key into these two frameworks, even though if you're not really expert and you're not really into security, maybe you're just entry. If you tap into what I'm saying right now, people would think you are already you've been doing this for a while. So the first thing is kickoff. When you say kickoff, I will give an example of what kickoff slide has to do looks like. And give me 1 minute. Sorry, I'm going back and forth. I just want everybody to be on the same page. Give me 1 minute so I can show you what kickoff is all about. Okay, I will share my screen again. Then we'll go back to. So when you say a kickoff, this is also applicable to a project management environment. It is actually borrowed from project management. So a kickoff process is where all the stakeholders meet. And during this kickoff meeting, you have a slide like this. I don't have an example of slide that I can use for this purpose. So I Googled, then I see the sample so that, everybody can understand what I'm talking about in terms of kickoff. So it's a process, a meeting where all the stakeholders meet. And the goals of this meeting is to introduce one another, each stakeholders to whether to the implementer or to the client. So the client, including the service provider, they meet during this process. So they meet and they explain. These are the things they talked about. A project descriptions, what are we doing? A project scope, team introduction. Each team will introduce themselves. Then they explain the cycle of how the project is going to look like. For instance, For instance, phase one. Phase one can be when we are going to be doing, for instance, phase one can be just what we're doing right now in kickoff. Then another one would be scope meeting. Once scope meeting has been done, that is phase one. Scope meeting is when we determine what we are assessing, what we are doing. So during the kickoff meeting, everything will be explained. Work breakdown will be explained. In security, there is no need for project estimate costs. I just use this as an example, like I said. Project plan will be communicated, and how the project will be tracked will also be mentioned. So, like I said, kickoff is borrowed from the project management perspective, and this is what they do during this process. They discuss regarding the project. They explain, like, for instance, if I'm working with company A, I will tell you about my company, what we've been doing over the years, and I will explain the organization chart. I will explain how you can communicate to me in case I'm not doing well, how you can escalate to my manager, or if you want to go beyond my manager, how you can escalate beyond my manager. That is maybe the VP or the president of the company. So during the kickoff meeting, we give you all the information you need, regardless. So we give you the information you need so that the client will know that you guys are serious, that you are not covering anything. Then during the kickoff, they also tell you about their team, what they've been doing, what they are trying to do. So during the kickoff, also you explain some documents, the documents you'll be using for the assessment, so that they can understand what you expected from them when the project start. Then you also give them an illustration of what the document entails in terms of the diagram, the network diagrams, how they should, also design their own network. During the kickoff meeting, these are the things that are captured during the kickoff meeting. And you also listen to the client, what exactly has been their challenges in the previous years. When you might not be the assessor this particular in previous year, you might be the new assessor for this year. So during the kickoff meeting, they will tell you their experiences over time working with your company, right? Or working with any other company they are coming from, because client, when you're not treating them very well, they have the liberty to move to any any company or organization that can give them same services. So you listen to them, and while listening to them, you make sure you note their challenges, so that you also will not repeat same challenges they are bringing to the table. This is discussed during the kickoff, and you also explain the process and procedure. That means, for instance, in my company, we do what we call after I've finished the assessment, I write my report, then I submit to the QA, quality assurance team. So this quality assurance team, they look at everything I've done, making sure they validate everything I've done, making sure it's actually in line with my assessment. So this process takes 4 to 6 weeks. And during this time, most clients, they want their report. But without going through this process, no report is coming out to the client. So most time clients want to see if they can bend, they can avoid this process. It's a standard in my organization that a report cannot come out without going through the QA, regardless of how much it would take them. So you explain this to them so that they will know what they'll be experiencing during the closures of the project. That is what kickoff is all about. Then let me stop sharing. Then I'll go back to the document I was sharing before. 1 minute. Yeah. So once the kickoff has been established, everybody knows what they are expecting from them. The next thing is to hand over this particular document. We call it inventory. If you don't know what inventory document looks like, this is what it looks like. Now you see the firewall, the routers, the network security control, cloud-based. This has to do with the AWS or the Azure. Switches, hardware, security modules. This is what for every company, they have the way data flows. Some encrypt their data. Now, when they are encrypting their data, they use keys. The keys they use to lock the data is stored somewhere. This is where they store the key into hardware security modules. So we have the IDS, IPS. IDS is intrusion detection system or intrusion prevention system. We have wireless. This is just an example of what an inventory document looks like. So, the type of system, they mention the type, the vendor, is it AWS, is it Azure, is it Cisco? You give the name of the particular vendor, the maker of that particular device or component. You name that here. The product name and version. It is compulsory that every product must have a version. So roles and function and descriptions. This is where you explain or state what are you using this particular device for, and the full address where hardware are located. It is compulsory that every inventory must have where they're located, right? It's good in case if I leave this organization now, anybody that is coming after me should know where this particular device or component is located. The total population, for instance, if I have firewall, or let me say I have a Cisco 2550, and I have another Cisco brand, I must be able to name for that particular 2550 model. I must be able to state how many do we have in our organization, because we can have different Cisco brands. So that is what the inventory list looks like. Then you give them this one. Then this is what we call the data flow. This gives you, as a security person, you must be able to interpret this document. Every company have different ways of representing their environment. Nobody will teach you this. It's going to take time, but it's easy to understand. Just follow where the arrows. Some companies make it easy for you. Some companies are very technical. They just leave it to you to use your brain to break it down yourself. So data flow. I told you I'm more in PCI environment. So when we say credit card data flow, is all the information you have on your card data, right? We have the primary account number. We have the sensitive, we call it SAD, sensitive account data. So this data must be represented on your diagram, how it flows from one place to another. For instance, I'm a customer. I go to Walmart. I swipe my card. The PIN pad encrypt my data, and it goes to, this is the PIN pad. It encrypt my data, and it goes to the payment processor. Most time they are called the bank. So if I swipe my card and through the POI, or POI is point of interaction. So instead of saying POS, it has been changed to POI because you are interacting with your PIN pad by swiping your card, or by tapping it, or by inserting your card into the PIN pad. So it's encrypted and it goes to the processor. Now the processor, when the processor does this, the bank, all of this happen within 2 minutes. The bank authorize your transaction by validating it. What they do is the bank will validate it that, okay, he has money in his account. Okay, it's good to go. They will pen the transaction from their end, but they will send an approval back to the merchant, back to Walmart. And Walmart will just, on the PIN pad, you will see approve. So the approval, with that, you are able to pick your orders or whatever you buy, and you're able to take it home. So this process has to be represented in the diagram. Mind you, from PCI perspective, as a merchant, you are not supposed to store any sensitive information in your environment. This has to be explained, has to be illustrated in the diagram as well. This is just an illustration of what we call data flow. Data flow is flow of sensitive information from one place to another. Okay. So I was telling you about another thing that you need to do. That is data flow. Data flow is different from network diagram. Data flow, it's just like you don't have to have a lot of information, but it has to have key information. Now, when it comes to diagram, every organization must have diagram. With diagram, without going to that organization, once I see the diagram, I should be able to know what is going on in their environment. Now, there are two types of diagram. We have a detailed diagram, we have a high-level diagram. So I know someone will say, oh, detailed diagram should have a lot of information. No. When it comes to PCI, it's not like that. It's other way around. Detail is just few information. Why high level is you have a lot of information. I will show you high level information. So this is the environment of a particular a particular company A. Now, they have a call center, they have a corporate office, they have a data center, they have a e-commerce, they have a PCI VLAN. They are using a virtual machine in their environment, and this is their acquire or processor. Now, with this, I know what is going on in the environment. So I know they are using SSH or they are using RDP. RDP is a Microsoft product, which is used for, it's like a virtual machine, or they call it like a jump server. Jump server, for the sake of people that doesn't know it, when I have a laptop, right, I have another virtual machine running on my system. So if I log into that, I use my own laptop as a house, as a host, as an entity. So once I log into the virtual machine, there's nothing on my physical system. It's just the virtual machine that is interacting with my organization. So that is what RDP does. It helps you to jump into your organization environment without, having any impact on the physical machine. So I know they have e-commerce. So during the scope meeting, remember I was saying these are the workflow. After you have done the kickoff, you have reviewed the inventory, you have reviewed the flow, data flow sheet diagram, network diagram, and detailed network diagram. The next thing you want to do is a scope meeting. You conduct scoping. During the scope meeting, this is when the scope meeting is when you discuss what is in scope, what is not in scope. Now, what the client does is they will tell you, imagine okay, I don't know what is going on in your environment. Can you walk me through what is your environment? Then as a assessor, you're able to ask them, hold on your corporate environment, what do you have here? Who are the people working around here? They will explain to you. Or we have a accounting office, and the accounting office, this is what they do, this is what they do. Now, when it comes to sensitive information, you ask them, does the accounting office, do they have interaction with this PCI environment? Because PCI environment is where with car data flows, where they store some part of sensitive data. So you ask them, does this person have access to this area? If they said no, that means that this corporate office will not be in scope. But the moment that they are interacting with this particular environment, they are in scope. So scope is about determining or validating which environment is transmitting, processing, and storing information, right? call center. Let's go to the call center. Sometimes when you call the call center, maybe your phone company, you call them when you are talking to them, when it has to do with sensitive information, they pause the recorder, what they are using to record. So from PCI perspective, they are not supposed to record when it comes to sharing your card data. If they do, that means the recorder is going to be in scope. You understand what I'm saying now? So anything that will impact the environment will be in scope. So I'm just explaining what scoping means. You are validating. During this time, you are validating with the client. You ask them, question, do you record communication that has to do with sensitive information? If they said yes, that particular device must be shown on the diagram because it's in scope. But if they say no, it's not in scope, that means you won't be assessing it. However, if you have a third party that does that for them, the third party must also comply with PCI. If the third party is not comply with PCI, you will bring the third party into the assessment because they are storing and they are not comply. So to avoid the third party to avoid bringing the third party into the assessment, most third party they are always compliant. So this reduces the scope of the environment because they are not storing anything here, but they have a third party. AWS, for instance, as a cloud-based entity, if I have all my components, my hardware, my system host in the, AWS, they are always PCI compliant. So instead of me going to AWS, going to their data center and assessing them, if they give me what they call ROC, we call it report of compliance, and they also give me what we call AOC. AOC is attestation of compliance. At the end of every assessment, a report must be issued to the client. And that was what I was referring to, ROC. Even if it is NIST, if you are assessing NIST, you have to issue a report, right? To show that, we have assessed this entity and this entity comply with the framework. So, in scope meeting, this is what you do during a scope meeting. You just validate how data flows, and anything that process or transmit or that store sensitive information would be in scope. So this is a detailed diagram of a particular organization, company A. They have a data center. If they are using a third party, maybe they are using another, it happens most time. All the T-Mobile that you're seeing, they don't have a call center. They outsource the call center to another organization. The call center, the organization they outsource to, they must also be PCI compliant. So what I would do as an assessor, I will ask them for the AOC of the company they outsource to. I ask them the contract document. I needed to see what contract and responsibility matrix. I will show you what responsibility matrix looks like. Responsibility matrix is like a document that shows what each entity represent. What they are doing. Now let's move quickly. This is the high level diagram. You can see the difference between the high level and the detail. High level diagram have a lot of information. It is not advisable to use wireless to transmit sensitive data. But if they are doing that, they have to encrypt the data from point A to wherever it's going to. So I won't want to repeat what I've said in other diagrams because this diagram is just having more information. They give you more information. Let me see if I can blow this up so you will see what they are actually, I'm not sure we can see it. So this is a corporate office from what I can see. They are using wireless in the corporate office. if you look at this ledger, card data environment, this is a card data environment. I can't see what they have here, but this is represent the virtual machine, right? Like a VM. If you know VM well, you know what I'm talking about. It's a virtual machine. The gray one, I think it should be out of scope. Maybe I think this out of scope is represented out of scope. So this, they are out of scope. This, they are in scope. This is in scope. This is out of scope. But they have to explain all this area that is gray. They have to explain to me. You say it is out of scope. What do you do there? What does this particular device? What does it do? Then you can use your knowledge or your expertise to determine if this should be in scope. Now, once you have validated everything, I feel like there need to be changes to this diagram. You ask them to go back and update the diagram. Every diagram must have date. It must have date and when it was updated. So if you won't move to next phase until this phase is completed, right? So once you have done this, the next phase is to start the assessment. I've gone through this scope of validation. This is what I just did. Once if there's need to be changes to the environment, you finalize the changes with the client. Then after that, you select the samples of the component you'll be assessing. Once I'll go back to this list. Remember you gave them this document. They'll fill up this document and with all the component they have in their environment. Then you will select them. You select which one you want to assess during the assessment. Let me reduce this so you can see. So that's how it looks. You go through all this process, you validate it. Then after that, once everything has been certified, you have validated your scope and in-scope environment. Then from PCI perspective, you start control one, you validate section 1, section 2, section. All this it takes time. Section 1, I have a client I'm doing now. I use 2 days to do their section 1. Normally, I should be able to do this within one hour, right? So you go through all of these stages. Then after that, you start writing your reports. You review, write your AOC as well. So you review the AOC with the client. Then you deliver the report, final report on compliance and AOC. You deliver it to the client once you have gone through the QA phase. I didn't put the QA phase here because I've explained that before. Then after that, you issue the report to the client, and that's the end of the assessment. Remember, I said, once you know this workflow, you can adapt it to any requirement. For instance, I've done all of this. I'm doing NIST, right? I'm not sure you can see it. Can you see this? Can you see another spreadsheet I'm bringing up? No? Okay, let me stop this. I will share this. Before I share that, let me explain this to you on eye level. Okay, so this is 853 NIST. I was talking about PCI, but this is 853. Imagine I've done the scope, I've done the kickoff, I've done the scope, and I've validated the network diagram, both the high level and the detailed network diagram. If I'm doing this, So this is NIST control, right? AC1 account, they call it account management control. So account management control have sub controls. It had a lot of controls. If you can see, they say automated system account management. So, and each company might have, they might pick out of each of these controls and implement it in their environment. For instance, AC2, restriction on use of share and group account. So what this is saying is you shouldn't have a group account. Some companies do have that because, for instance, they have a group of admin. They now, a group of admin. So they create an account, they create a username and password for them, and they give it to that particular group. What can happen with that is anybody in the group can misuse the access given to them. So imagine I have a company right now. I don't want this to happen in my environment, right? I will implement this particular control with my engineer. The engineer will implement it in all the devices I have, my systems. That's why we need inventory. So the engineer will look at all the inventories, all the components, all the hardwares we have in the environment, and they will implement this particular control in the environment. Now, I will give you how the assessments look like. Let me stop sharing and I'll share the spreadsheet I was talking about. So this is how the assessments look like when it comes to NIST. This is what is implemented, the assessment result. Assessment result is it certified or not certified? If it's not certified, you put it at not certified. So you put this, in case if it's not certified, you put it there, then, you make a comment. What risk did you identify? You will name it there. 1 minute. What I'm trying to do, say in this, when it comes to NIST is, we call it plans of action and milestone. You are testing the control if the control is implemented or not. There are different ways of testing. The first thing is you can ask a user to log into the system, a user that belongs to that particular group to, log into the system with the group assessment, with the group username and password. If the user can implement that, can log in, that means the control is running in that environment. If the user cannot log in, that means the control is not active. So we use this control AC. I was talking about AC. This is AI. I mean IA. This is another control. The IR. This is another control. This SI. This is another control. So what I'm doing in this assessment when it comes to NIST is I'm testing this control if it's implemented. Is it well implemented? Does it satisfy? The system where is implemented on, is it low or high system? What risks? Do you have any risks identified to this particular control? What is recommendation? What kind of recommendation can you give to mitigate the risks that you identify? So if there's nothing, say no. So, what I'm trying to establish is this is how NIST control is implemented and tested. At the end of this particular exercise, you have to write in NIST. NIST doesn't have, they don't have a kind of robust publication that or report that PCI have. Most companies will just create kind of this document, and once that it has been tested, they just issue this to the entity that the control has been achieved. NIST is mainly used in the federal government environment of US and all subsidiaries of federal government or agencies. So, but a private company can actually adopt part of this control and implement it in their environment. So, that is the workflow. Any question? Any question, please?
There's none in the chats here, so.
Did everybody understand what I'm trying to, what I was explaining, or what I'm, this is just for you to know the basics when it comes to governance and risk and compliance. If you know your workflow, then if you are being interviewed, these are the basic things they ask during the interview. What controls have you worked on? Now explain you what are the day-to-day activities do you do? What I just explained to you is those are the narrative you will explain to them. I start engagement from the beginning to the end. I conduct the kickoff meeting, conduct scope meeting, and on a high level, you just tell them what to do one-on-one. Then you tell them the controls you have implemented over times and how you tested the controls. So what I'm trying to say is any company that's going to accept you or give you employment when it comes to cybersecurity, they want you to know the basics, and that's what I'm trying to achieve in this meeting. Once you know the basics, it makes life easy because they want to. Oh, this guy seems to have idea of what is doing. He will be doing or what he has been doing over time. So that's the goal. That's what I'm trying to achieve with this workflow.